The Productivity Commission's long-awaited report into childcare has recommended a single means-tested subsidy to be paid directly to childcare providers. David O'Byrne is National Secretary of Early Childhood Union United Voice, and he joins us now from Sydney. David O'Byrne, good morning and thanks for making time for us.
Yeah, good morning.
So first of all, looking at what you understand from the Productivity Commission, from the reports that are out this morning in advance of its formal release, what's your first response?
Well, clearly we saw with the Productivity Commission a very, I suppose, academic exercise, and their terms of reference were very clear. They were asked to provide a report within the current funding envelope, and I think the policy has moved on since that time. So I think some of the recommendations will have, of course, benefit for the sector. The single payment, the simplified payment to the services, that will be a massive improvement, and that will have a greater level of transparency. But really the only way to resolve the crisis that is childcare, and there are two. First of all, it's about making sure we have a high quality early education and care sector, but also it's about workforce participation. The only way to really resolve that is to lift the investment in the early years, because Australia chronically underfunds in that area. So the PPL, the funds from that scheme, need to be moved across into the early years sector to resolve this crisis.
So when you say it's an academic exercise, you mean that nothing can be resolved within the childcare sector, and relief can't really be found for families unless there's a whole lot more money pumped into the system?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Clearly, the government has recognised that by their announcement that the paid parental leave fund will be scrapped, and the investment will move across from there into childcare. Australia chronically underfunds their investment in the early years. For example, New Zealand spends 1% of GNI. Australia only spends 0.45%. We really need to invest in the early years, not only to give children the best start in life with a high quality sector, but to allow families and particular women to make decisions about when and how they return to work.
All right. Well, can we leave aside just for one moment your preference that a lot more money be pumped into the system, given that the recommendations are designed to avoid adding to the budget for childcare at the moment, and that adding more money might not necessarily take place. What do you think of the idea of more assistance going to low and middle income families, as this report would envisage it?
Well, that will always be welcome. We know that families, low-income families, are desperate to access high-quality services. Of course, that is absolutely welcome. But our position has always been, and the sector's position has always been, that we don't want families to be worse off. If the policy goals are about workforce participation, we know that families across the income spectrum will need to access early years services. So if you take from Peter to give to Paul in some respects, you actually don't resolve that policy challenge. So it is about quality, but it's also about workforce participation. Greater access at the lower levels will absolutely be welcome,
yep.
But if that is at the expense of other families accessing affordable care, you actually don't resolve the issue of workforce participation at all.
So are you suggesting this morning that as it's been outlined this morning by the Productivity Commission, that not only will you get more women primarily into the workforce, but you might actually lose some?
Well, that's unfortunately the perverse outcome of this.
That's what you say the outcome is.
Well, there's no doubt about that, because when you look at even from the leaked reports, they say that with their recommendations, and again we've got to remember that they were told to provide recommendations within the current funding envelope, which people acknowledge is manifestly not enough to resolve the challenge. The government themselves have acknowledged that they need to do more for families, they need to do more for workforce participation, and that the paid parental leave funds are moving across from there into childcare. So it's actually not a net hit to the budget at all. It's about moving one investment from families into another area for families.
One levy that was to raise money for one area into another area.
Well, it's a foregone tax cut to corporate Australia, and I think corporate Australia need to make sure that they are playing their role in ensuring that workforce participation is a key issue for them. And a foregone 1.5% tax cut is a small investment to ensure that they can access a group of women who are skilled, who are ready to return to work, and need to be able to be supported in that, so they can be productive not only for those companies, those industries, but for the economy.
Okay, David O'Byrne, thanks for your time. We'll leave it there.
Thank you.